What up, world? Top of the early AM, top of the afternoon, evening, depending where you are on the side of that globe. Man, it's the Patio PolitiCz. Your man J5TH live in the building. Got KenDon in this motherfucker, top of the morning.
King brother, top of the morning. What's happening?
Man, I'm chilling. Trouble T Mills, what up, man? Mills Suave.
What up? You know they call me Trouble T Mills now, y'all. But
Hey, man, we're going to be causing trouble in a good way this morning. Hey, but today we got a very, very intriguing, situation going on, man. A very dope topic. We're talking about outwitting the devil. We want to circle on and talk about a lot of things that's in this book. It's very influential and very powerful. So we're just going to be highlighting the book and just talking about it and hitting on points on why everybody needs this book, why you need it in your household, why you need it in your car. Not the audio book, but the actual physical copy of this beautiful bomb book, man. So y'all do what y'all do. We gonna do what we do, and we'll be back after these messages like this. Patio PolitiCz.
We hope you stay a while, cause it's right for life. Trying to be part of your life. We got whatever you like. Come on and just give us a try, yeah. Cause it's right for life. Trying to be part of your life. We got whatever you like, yeah. Come on and just give us a try, yeah. I said it's right for life. Come in with the shows that you like. We trying to be the best on the mic. DJ playing cuts that you like, yeah. It could be the start of your day, or maybe just the end of your night. But if you rock it with us, Patio PolitiCz is gonna do you right. Oh, cause it's right for life. Trying to be part of your life, yeah. We got whatever you like. Come on and just give us a try, yeah. Cause it's right for life. Oh, trying to be part of your life. We got whatever you like. Come on and just give us a try, yeah. We hope you stay a while.
We hope you stay a while. I'm glad y'all here rocking with the Patio PolitiCz, man. Getting fed. Food for thought, getting that information, man. It's breakfast for dinner and dinner for breakfast for all y'all that's tapped in.
All you can eat.
yes, sir.
All you can eat. So I hope y'all got y'all pen and y'all pads.
Man, first I gotta say too, if we do hope you stay a while, because if you don't, we're gonna leave you out there with the drifters.
There you go. Speaking of drifters, so we talking about this great, phenomenal book, man, Outwitting the Devil. Let me ask you guys, what was your first introduction to this book?
Man, my first introduction to this book, it was actually scarier than the book. I got introduced to it kind of as some secretly held information that some business mentors of mine at the time were like, you're not ready for this. You're not ready for this. You're not ready for this. I'm like, man, just give it to me. I want. They're like, nah, we're going to wait until you get a little more discipline and you're at this level. I really wasn't ready for it. This was back in college in 2013.
Yeah.
And it was only the audio version. And back then, I can say I was a lazier person, so I didn't want to pick up the book. I was just cool with the audio version.
Yeah.
It's not that, you make the devil into this superficial character like you see in scary movies, but it was like actually hearing his voice in the audio and hearing him talk dead on to Napoleon about things that were super true, that were true back in the 1930s that you see manifesting now. It scared the mess out of me.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to, it was just, cracking the eggshell back then. I wasn't even ready for the info.
Yeah. Now, what about you?
Man, for me, the title, it kept on showing up, so I see it sometimes online. I see it at a couple of bookstores, and just the title stood out to me. But I never picked it up. But that did something though, because my great friend XO,
shout out to XO.
Man, he came across the book, the audiobook version of it, and so it had me go back to it, and I'm like, okay. So we was having some conversations about it, and he was telling me about some of the principles that he was picking up, and from there it led me to want to go and read the book.
Yeah.
So my first introduction was the audio book, and then so I downloaded that free young PDF version, and then started getting my study on with it. After you were telling me like, okay, yeah, nah, you can't just listen to the audio book version, and then now I actually has the have
the physical copy.
But the first one, the one that's untouched, the one that's not stepped on.
Yeah.
So I want to. Exactly. That copy. So I'm going back. Getting the one that Napoleon Hill put in the vault. So because he put that book in the vault for all them years because it was written 70 years ago, but then it came out in 2011.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. So
90 at this point, I think.
Yeah. Right.
90. Yeah.
Okay.
Now my first introduction was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
That's what made me end up going and reverting to the book. And in my own humble opinion, Outwitting is kind of better than Think and Grow Rich because I feel like you gotta read Outwitting first, then go back to Think and Grow Rich to be able to understand the principles because you can go into Think and Grow Rich coming out of that shit with all these expectations.
Facts.
You get what I'm saying? Like, man, okay, now the book done told me to think this way and do it this way, but you gotta hit Outwitting the Devil because you're gonna run into a lot of principles that's in here and things. You know what? In the midst of you thinking and growing rich.
Indeed.
Can I interject there too, real quick? Not to, because I get excited about this book, man. That I got introduced to Think and Grow Rich first too. That was what some of the business mentors I had at the time actually gave me first. And when you, like you said, when you attempt to apply them principles, and you're like, man, it's not working. I am happy. I do have a pleasing personality. I am disciplined. And what people don't really tell you is until you take the time to get the knowledge for yourself, this book is really Think and Grow Rich inside out.
It is. Yes, sir.
And if you don't understand this stuff, then you won't understand why you're failing. I don't know if you guys, I know we're talking about Outwitting the Devil today, but if you guys have read or listened to The Law of Success, or I brought a couple of his other books today too. I was telling Kay earlier. A lot of times, if you read his other books, it makes Think and Grow Rich look like it's just a kindergarten manual.
Not for real.
Because it only grazes over stuff. And this is like in-depth stuff we should be teaching kids.
That kids should be getting taught. This shit should be taught in churches.
Yes.
To be,
Oh, yeah. We're going to get to that, especially.
to be honest. Now, go ahead with you.
No, I was about to say one more thing. I said like sometimes when it comes to the authors of the book, I'll be like, sometimes we got to dive into these authors if they're credible and whatnot.
Man,
right.
So with Napoleon Hill, I was just wondering, because there was only so much that I had learned about him. But then what got me was 3 Feet from Gold, right?
Yes.
And when I had read, had in there some of the letters that he wrote to his wife. And just for that, when you see the personal side, like it allows you to get a personal glimpse of the man.
Facts.
And from there though, man, I had the utmost respect for him, and like it was a mutual respect for him, which made me take his words even more with in the heart.
And see, that's crazy you said, and I forgot about the letters that my boy read on 3 Feet from I forgot about that.
I gotta go check that out. So is that in a Napoleon Hill book?
So it's based off of a concept from Think and Grow Rich, which is 3 Feet from Gold, and it's another author, whatever. But man, he definitely he did the same formula that Napoleon Hill uses for his books, and but man, go. And
I would say it's more because we talking about 1930s Napoleon Hill era, so you coming out of the Great Depression, the Roaring 20s, all that. But the author we're referring to that did 3 Feet from Gold is present day.
Right.
So
okay.
Fucking phenomenal book, like for sure top 5 of mine. 3 Feet from Gold.
Likewise.
Yes.
Okay.
And all that came though from Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil too, because he got some reference up in there.
Definitely. And you know what? One thing I want to say before we get too deep in this as well, because obviously we recommend in the book that everybody watching go get the book now. But 5 hold yours up and hold mine's up. So there's 2 different versions. Nothing wrong with this version, but when I got this version, this is the original. Kay was talking about the original unedited version, like straight from
this
the typewriter.
This is edited,
and this has part of the prologue, like the story leading up to, was cut out of that one. And it wasn't until I read this, because in the audio they don't talk about this. Like they left out, we're gonna get to later too, his mastermind group. And how you pick those guys. And I don't know about y'all, I was talking to Kay before, I actually made some attempts to do that before. It takes some deep meditation.
And focus.
But those people actually come to life. For me it was Kobe. And just a lot of principles that kids do until we tell them, that, grow up and be normal. And this is not right. But you actually have it in you.
But if you look at our childhood, when we're taught to use our imagination, we already form a mastermind group at a young age.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But how we were raised, and this goes back to the shit inside the book, a lot of our parents don't want us to become, they consider us drifters because we are using our mastermind.
Right.
And they don't have no concept or knowledge of what we're like truly doing.
Our parents have become drifters.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't.
Yeah.
What he says too, the first highlight I'll share with y'all that I had, he was like, propaganda is literally a way to influence people without them realizing they're being influenced.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
parents and whatnot and people in our family and around us are influencing us without even realizing they're doing it. That's why they take offense to you telling them, that no, I'm sorry, I can't think like you no more. Or,
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I'm on something different.
And it was talking about having access to universal intelligence, and that the fact that when we drifting, we don't have that access anymore. And so what you saying or whatever, like as a kid, you free, you untainted of the world,
You pure.
So, yeah. So your thoughts, it ain't like you. It's not so much of other people thinking for us.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's more so of us thinking for ourselves, which is the whole drifting thing.
Because I see a lot of parents often like they get mad if their kid be like, I have imaginary friends. That's how sometimes that shit start.
Right.
You got a lot of black parents that be like, cut that shit out, stop saying that shit. Especially if they parents are like watch scary movies or movies with spirits or demonic, paranormal.
Make it off of imaginary friends,
Yeah, we think black people think for the worst when you say, I got an imaginary friend.
Right.
Don't bring that motherfucker in this house and like stop talking.
Right.
And naturally that is a formulation of a mastermind group.
Indeed.
You get what I'm saying?
I like that concept.
Yeah, it is. You know what I'm saying? So that shit is wild.
Well, something else I'll speak to as well. So in the beginning, especially of this version, when he talks about the other self, numerous times, he references how, we all can have our different opinions on religion, but he talks about how he had multiple people in the same room of different religions and how they could get along. And what he come to realize is that a lot of people's encounter with the other self is how they translate it to be.
Yeah.
So when people are having an imaginary friend, their other self is what's really speaking to him. It's just manifesting in that form.
Exactly.
When he talks about his mastermind group and how he talked to like Abe Lincoln and Thomas Paine, and and the whole time he's really imagining this, but he's like literally asking him. He's like, "Are you speaking English to me right now?" He's like, "No, technically all universal thought is understood." He's like, your mind is allowing me to communicate to you in a way that you understand. He's like, so I'm not technically speaking English. You're just understanding through your version of thought.
Yeah.
So
wow. Just holding on to that and just thinking of how they say the Most High comes to us and the people that we know, or some of the things. But just saying that how the Most High is within us, and it shows up in that form as well, within us.
Yeah.
That's the parallelity of that.
And he shows up, not only people we know, it can be from a stranger, it can be through animals,
Indeed.
children.
But the voice that's coming out of it
exactly.
is like how it resonate with us. Yeah.
And it also puts into context many things in the Bible too, because I've noticed that he talks not about being against Christians or anybody of any religion, just the fact that he's against fear-mongering religious people. Yeah. And then when he talks about spiritual orgies, and I keep my mind shut, in those environments now, because I realize that, because he's like, when he's talking to the devil, he's like, what are spiritual orgies? And he's like, people have these heightened experiences where they fall out and they think, that they're being in touch. And he's like, that's not communicating with God. If anything, that's leading you to be in a vulnerable state for me to just move in.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now that's real.
And he was like, ultimately, he's like, where the churches fail is they do the exact opposite of what they should do. He's like, the churches should be teaching people about nature's laws. Yeah. Man. That's the whole purpose behind the story. So in here, it depends, believe what you want to believe. He talks about the story of the Garden of Eden at one point in here, and how people believe it to be so literal, but he's like, literally the point it's giving you is that you have choice to use nature's laws. So it's like there's power there, and he's like, if you don't take control of it, then I'm gonna take control of it and use you to my advantage. So it's like, you can dunk on me anytime, but if you just stand there, he's like, you can block my shot anytime, but if you just stand there, I'm gonna put my balls in your face and dunk on you every time.
Right.
And you don't do something.
And for those who don't know, my King brother is referring to the conversation that's had with the devil.
Right.
And meaning that how the devil can use us as a vessel. Yeah. In his trickster ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I want y'all to give a brief synopsis while we still in the introductory phase of the conversation of like just what the book is about in the shortest way possible before we dive into the segments or whatever. Now, before y'all get into that, just ponder on that. But just want to let everybody know, we really encourage our people of Black descent, Latin descent, all that, to get physical copies. And the reason why I say that, you guys aren't going to go to McDonald's and spend $10, $15 and just leave the food sitting on the counter or whatever the case may be. So I know people saying, well, I can get it for free. We all can get shit for free, but it's what you're doing with what you're getting free. What's the value in it if it's free? Opposed to if you pay for it and you're going to give your all and your attention to it. Fact. You get what I'm saying? Because everybody don't have it like that. But I say if you get a physical copy, and it's nothing against audiobook people, because people drive distances, and some people attention span is more better for that than it is the books. However, the more books you read physically, you start note taking and everything, and then you're being able to apply the application that you're getting out of the book. So that's why we strongly encourage everybody to get physical copies of all your books. You're not just gonna pay $20 for no book and leave the shit sitting or whatever the case may be. Get you a pen, get you a pad, get you a highlighter for show, if anything. So whatever sticks out to you that resonates with your soul and your spirit, highlight that shit. So whenever you get caught up in tricky moments, you can always open that book, and whatever them highlight moments are, is gonna be something that's gonna stick to you. You feel me? So,
man, and it's something that reading does to you.
Yes.
You know, when you just the stillness and the quietness of the mind that's taking place.
Yes.
Reading and giving your brain focus time.
Yes.
It's a lot of benefits to that.
Now, were you guys readers, avid readers, or did y'all have to grow into reading, depending on what type of books you had? Because I hated reading. For years.
I was a reader. I think I didn't embrace it as much in school because we were forced to read what we didn't want to read. But I could read stuff because I used to read novels beforehand. But I will say that one, to add on to what you said about our people getting it, one trait of reading that I think a lot of people underestimate is reading the same book over and over again. Because this book, got introduced to me a decade ago this year. So I've come across it multiple times, went back through it multiple times, and I think that a lot of people underestimate that law of repetition. You need to go back through it because things appeal to you different when you've experienced different things in life that can now relate. You might be in a changed mind state. You might have went through some stuff that can make something in there that you never thought you saw before is now true, and now it opens your mind to a world of other things. So definitely read it over and over again.
And just to add to your point, you said something that was so important because it highlights that shit about school. We were forced to read, and what we have to understand is we were forced to read shit that didn't resonate with us spiritually.
Facts.
So we're reading fabricated history, and we're reading shit that doesn't apply to us.
Right.
Hansel and Gretel, these different stories and all that shit. It was cute and fun then, but what was it really for us? Opposed to us reading about the Black Panther Party, us reading about Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King. Reading in depth as we read. Now, when I came up, I don't know how it was for y'all, Christopher Columbus, he had like 4 chapters in the history book.
Yeah.
So, when they
Paul
read
Revere and all of them.
Exactly. When they read their history, it's edifying to them. It's empowering because they're looking at that shit like, damn, I can be this. I can be a dictator. Explorer. Rapist. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. No, for real. So we read shit. We got a mini chapter, like half a chapter about slavery. And it's pain and brutal.
Well, not only that, but we get like a few days to a week on that, but we spend months on all the rest of it.
Hell yeah!
And then they only give us surface level shit where we only learning about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks.
Yeah,
and let's talk about how the drifting is formed, because even when reading these chapters and we do a summary as a group. Now it's telling us how to view what we just read instead of us taking our own 2 cents and piecing together the knowledge and intelligence.
Exactly.
And critically think. You know what
that's
I mean?
a strong
they handed
point.
It to us, so that's how the drifting is created.
And it's kind of in a way
habits.
Manipulating and shaping how we think.
Yes.
Because we might read a chapter and it says, well, what happened with slavery? We might put the truth from our perspective.
Right.
But you're not going to get a good grade because it's not what the chapter.
It's not the curriculum.
It's not the curriculum.
And you actually have some teachers bold enough to tell you, no, that didn't happen, or no, that's not the correct answer I was looking for. But you can be like, but that's what it is. That's what happened. And so.
Oh yeah, they'll for sure challenge you.
They'll challenge you, and of course at that age, if you you're looking up to an adult. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're not gonna. A lot of kids ain't gonna just say no, or they're just gonna be a class clown about it and make you look foolish.
Well, you know, to our people, our history is the strangest secret. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It is the strangest secret.
And it's taboo. But it's like, no, and then I don't know about y'all. If I'm reading shit about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X as a child, that shit scare me because I'm like, when I stand up for something, I'm gonna get assassinated.
Bingo.
I'm gonna get killed.
Bingo.
Opposed to their history, Christopher Columbus wasn't assassinated. You know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers died on their plantation.
Yeah.
You know, doing what they did, which we know, and then they get schools named after them.
Man.
If I was white, I'll feel empowering as fuck too, reading shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, too, also on that note, for those who don't know, so the Think and Grow Rich book that Five was talking about, Dennis Kimbrough did Think and Grow Rich a black choice for that very reason.
Yeah.
Because though, you know, everything in here is about not making excuses and taking control of your mind, Dennis Kimbrough, when he wrote the version for us, he was like, yeah, you can say that, you know, we gotta use all these principles, but you gotta understand, black people gotta use those principles through slavery and Jim Crow.
Yeah.
So it's you know, while y'all can, we gotta sit at the back of the bus while using our minds, while y'all can go wherever y'all want.
Y'all don't have a care and a worry.
Exactly. You know, you ain't ducking and dodging lynch mobs while you're telling people to, you know, use their mind. And
Man, and just piggybacking real quick, like off of what's said, like just thinking of nature. Like if you look at a group of animals up in nature, the horse is gonna go with the horses, the dogs gonna go with the dogs, the lions gonna go with the lions. And so just saying that as a people and as a race, why don't we operate the same? But truthfully, we do. You know, we do operate that. And we are a people that operate off of communism. And so just going back to what you were just saying about how they put certain faces in front of us and have us putting these people as superior. They got all these Christopher Columbus and everybody, and they making them superior. But truthfully, once we start putting the faces into it, like the Martin Luther Kings and everybody else around us, then that we start identifying with these people. Same thing with religion, how they put a white person or X, Y, and Z to where now we start holding this other race as superior because our whole life we thinking that we're inferior because that's not us. We can't relate to this person. Like we have no, you know, none of that. So just man.
Well, you know, and to add to that, to add to that before we go to break, I definitely want to say too, we're going to still get to that introduction and we're going to let y'all know what we talking about when we say drifters and all these laws of nature, because we don't want this to get lost in translation, y'all. However, have y'all noticed that slavery and what they did to us was not actually even about all the brutalization or dehumanization? If you look at the core message of the Willie Lynch letter, it's teaching us to be drifters.
100.
Exactly.
Take the mind. And not only that, if you look at everything else, everybody who is assassinated was a non-drifter.
Exactly.
You know, and then one of the things that it said too that I wrote down, even highlighted most of the time, the first chapter in Think and Grow Rich, in all his books, the first principle is desire. Desire is the only thing that a human being can do to outwit Mother Nature.
Yes, there it is.
And we're the only creature that is actually capable of that. Because every other animal, when you see it, it's like when a lion is chasing a gazelle, that's instinct. That's not desire. Because a lion will give up if the gazelle goes away.
Hell yeah. Or if you can't catch it.
A human being is like, all right, if that cheetah keeps running, we can keep going. Until we corner that mug somewhere. Lion is just like, it got away. I'll wait for another one.
Exactly. And then just how what Kay said about the animals, how, you know, lions go with lions. They how each species follow their own. If you look, we're kind of like Mowgli off a Jungle Book. I don't know if y'all familiar with him, but once he got led astray from his tribe of people, he had, you remember the panther was taking him, kind of chaperone him. Then he got with the monkeys. Then he got with the wolves. You get what I'm saying? That's really that's the story of us as blacks.
Then he hung with the bear.
You get what I'm saying?
Well, Tiger was the white man.
You remember?
Hey,
but man, y'all keep it locked. Patio PolitiCz. We'll be back in a tick, man. Stay locked. Yes.
You trust me? Come here. I want to help you ease your anxiety if you allow me to. I think it's magical how kisses slow down time. I can make your spirit move at the pace of the earth when your lips meet mine. Life is so much better when you slow down. We're so in a rush just to go nowhere when the best place to be is right here.
You are now rocking with the Patio PolitiCz.
We here, we back.
Yeah.
It's getting deep. Make sure y'all get a copy, man, of Outwitting the Devil. For real. Before y'all get Think and Grow Rich or anything, because the motherfucker is real. So,
And in disguise.
yes.
That's the part.
Yes.
Time and space don't exist for him either.
So I'll give my little quick, and then y'all can go too. So Outwitting the Devil, from my perspective, just real brief and quick, it's a real life conversation with the devil. This conversation took place, I believe, in the 1930s, but reading the book, everything that was stated in that book in the 30s is relevant to present day. ... Meaning it's still progressing to this day. That's what makes the book real and honest and true. Now, you can be religious going into the book, and you can be non-religious. It applies to both and any and all people. And that's why I say I strongly encourage everybody to get a copy of the book. That's a conversation with the devil. Now,
So piggybacking off of that, it's a conversation with the devil. It's definitely very real.
yes.
It's definitely something that if you just reject because you're moving out of fear or what you worry about what people would say or whatnot, that's what actually stalled the book coming out. Because in the conversation, like, not only does the devil even tell Napoleon Hill, but also people around him was like, you can't publish this. You know, this is not human beings aren't going to be able to accept this.
Yeah.
And I think one thing is make sure when you read it, don't try to make it so logical on how he got to that place, because we all have had those moments where we felt like we had an encounter with some kind of other, I won't say spirit or something, some kind of presence,
Something beyond ourselves.
something beyond ourselves. And he talks about the other self, and it's a real conversation where you're gonna get real answers. Everything is clear cut, and you'll understand why, not just why it's true, but why it has to be true, because you will see how everything applies and it ties in with all of nature's laws and how things go. So to anything that you would attempt to argue against, there's answers for in here.
Yeah.
So definitely, just keep an open mind when you read it.
Yeah.
Man, piggybacking off what my king brothers touched on, the quick overview from my perception of it is that so the other self, like, there is two cells that lives within us. Now, one of those cells, for lack of word choice, I'm identified as the God within us. Then the other self, I'm going to identify as the ego within us.
Yeah.
But in other words, it has different contexts and word choices that he used to identify that. But within that is a conversation with the devil, and we get to learn that the tricks that the devil play in order to put these two selves against one another, and that within putting these two selves against one another, that we are then putting against the universal intelligence. We are then put against ourselves, because we are scattered in our minds, and we don't have no definiteness within us, and how all of these things actually allowed us to be a vessel for the enemy rather than a vessel for the Most High.
Yes.
And one more thing I want to add on that as well too, is when you say especially being a vessel for the Most High, it's very easy to, if you read this, attempt to go against any kind of religion or what somebody believes in, but it actually confirms more of what you see in the Bible.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I recognize, like, even just with people I go to church with, who, sometimes not even just church folks, anybody, you start reading too much self-help, and they're like, well, if you just spent more time with God, and I'm like, but this is information that applies to the Bible, and I'm like, it brings the Bible stories more true. It actually adds context. Yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly. I'm just piggybacking off of you. Like, when it comes to talking about adding context, it's that sometimes the Bible don't break things down practically for us.
Yes,
and that when we can have practical practices that allowed us to get to the point to be able to express the overall thing, the overall destination that we can probably find in the Bible. But these things actually tell us, like, how to deal with fear.
Right.
Where our thoughts should go when we think in negative thoughts. Like, these are practical things that we can do to become better individuals in our everyday lives, as opposed to trying to compare ourselves to text that was written thousands of something years ago that was probably more relevant to the people of that time,
that we don't understand,
and that's misinterpreted.
There we go.
And I believe that's, like, they say a lot of I believe if anything should kind of be, and they got the NIV Bible to kind of break it down in layman's terms. The first thing they give cats in prison is the little orange Bibles. Remember the little one? That's the first thing they give.
New Testament.
New Testament. When these brothers get in jail and they give this to them, everything is kind of confusing as fuck for them. So if I'm coming into prison and I don't have a religion or a group that I'm a politic with, and you give me a Bible that I can't understand, I'm gonna lose interest in it because I have nobody there to interpret what each precept means,
right,
etc. Then opposed to when you got a Muslim brother, he breaking down every precept of the Quran to you. You get what I'm saying? As in Christianity, we don't really have that. You get what I'm saying? Right. So when somebody in a book, just like you said, the people that tell you, well, you need to spend more time with God, it talks about in this book dealing with people, but dealing with people like that.
Yes, fear-mongering Christians.
Yes. A lot of them are family.
A lot of them family.
Man, I know if I get to, like, it's what was it? It's a desire for loosely organized opinions.
Yes.
And I feel like those are definitely like an example of the drifter, because even the opinions that they giving off, they have little to no facts, or what they putting on it is they personal, they own stuff.
Man,
rather than the universal.
Yes.
You know.
And it ties down to my Hebrew Israelite brothers too. You know what I'm saying? When they be out there, I watch a lot of videos I come across them where they attempting to minister to people, give them information. And y'all gotta watch these ministers of information because they be real fucking misleading. If I don't know the Lord and you're attempting to teach me about him and my heritage, if I'm asking you questions and you keep going to a scripture that I don't understand, you're going to lose me. And then when I ask you, like, Tia give me something and say Deuteronomy 28, KenDon and start reading and I'm still confused, Tia say, give him this precept.
What you're doing is you're performing.
You're losing me.
You're performing. You're not teaching. And
exactly.
Don't be locking people in cars.
But the information becomes misguided. And now I'm lost and I'm just getting screamed at with shit I don't understand.
Facts.
You're gonna lose me every time. Instead of sitting down or breaking that shit down, we get to the precepts later because those are important because they're factual. However, you gotta help me understand what you're attempting to teach me.
Yes.
First,
meet me where I'm at.
Meet me where I'm at. This meets everybody where you're at. It's very literal and to the point.
Yes.
And it's not long read. It's not long draining reads. It's
actually so. The funny thing is, it's actually so to the point. I don't know about y'all. I didn't want the book to end.
Not either.
I wanted to keep on reading because I was like, man, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
I was like, I would literally. This was my free time when I would take a minute. I'm like, I'm going to sit by the pool and read my book.
Nah, for real.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I've come across that pretty much from all three. I've had a Hebrew Israelite. I've had a Muslim a couple of times in college. Mormons all come up to me and push it on me that way. And it's funny. He talks about that in here. And when he talks about the other self, he actually says a lot of people in clergy and religious leaders, when they met their other self or they had that experience, because he talks about the dude who founded Mormonism.
Yeah.
He was like, what he perceived is what became the foundation of that religion.
Yep.
Not recognizing that it's like, okay, this is what your other self, what God is speaking to. And the devil, this is the thing. I couldn't understand why, like, even people I went to church with were refuting me on this when I'm literally like, Napoleon Hill and Andrew Carnegie in all these books talk about they're committed to God. They're just like we're just not fear mongering about it like y'all are. He's like, ultimately, even the devil himself, he says, my opposition is what you earthbound call God.
Yes. And then what too, you know, y'all probably don't agree with the sentiments, but a lot of, like, to me, religion is just legal codes to me.
Agreed.
That's to me, I feel all religion is just legalized cults.
Ultimately agree.
That's teaching you different ways to have a relationship with the Most High. And I feel the relationship with the Most High is not, in a sense, religion. It's not religion at all, but it's spiritual. That's a personal thing that you have to have with him.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Religion is simply a vehicle.
Yeah, that's it. But see, we don't need to drive a vehicle to get to where we going all the time.
Nope. We can get there on foot.
And the funny thing about saying that too, we shouldn't need a vehicle. In the chapter, I forget which one it was, when he talks about spiritual orgies or religious orgies.
Yeah.
I know that sounds horrible, but he's talking about when a lot of people are kind of like faking as if they're having an encounter and whatnot.
Yep.
Again, like I was mentioning earlier.
Yep.
And it's like, why would they get so upset at you reading this when this is literally, this is giving you almost the manual on how to better interpret the Bible when you read it.
Exactly.
Because now when I do my own Bible study and I'm studying the scriptures, now I'm looking at, okay, the person who was in this situation at this time, and then when they talked to Jesus, and then when they left Jesus, and then when this happened, what was their mindset like? What was the situation that was going on? What was okay, and then what was the devil trying to do to them? Okay, when he talks about drifters, he was getting Jonah to fear stuff. So the parable of the whale.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucking drifters in the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, almost everybody who God entrusted.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is like, he talks about, he was like, literally, if the religious leaders did a better job of actually teaching people how to understand how nature's laws and the universe works, they would actually study their texts better.
Yeah, and but oftentimes though, that's the whole stigma and generational curse we are breaking, because people are only able to teach what they're taught. And we're breaking that mold because we're the generation of people that are stepping aside of taking the things we taught and applying them, but also seeing what else is more out there to grow from, to make our education limitless. You get what I'm saying?
It's thinking of the concept of faith, and how a lot of our parents probably tell us, have faith. You gotta have faith. You gotta do this. But then, I'm sure we can contest that. We've seen plenty of opportunities and moments where they may have lost faith.
Man, I was going,
But learning how tricky that can be, of like just that split second when we can choose fear. And it can be as simple as going to the store or going somewhere else, and then a negative thought will show up in your mind, and then you will start giving your attention to that negative thought. But noticing that instantly, soon as we do that, it's the moment that we're handing the keys over to the enemy. Because then we're not choosing, we're not choosing faith. And that gets into one of the main concepts of the book is faith over fear, to sum it up.
Now, just give me a second. I want to break this down for the viewers so everybody can stay with us, because I know we're getting deep on stuff, because many of y'all may not have read the book. So it's a long interview, but the concept of drifting, so you understand where we go from here, is that it says man alone defies nature's laws, but we also drift at will. So what does that mean? Nature's laws is what keeps everything in balance. Nature's laws is what keeps the earth spinning every 24 hours. Nature's laws is what keeps the earth going around the sun the same amount of days. It's why acorn seeds only produce acorns, like they were saying. Animals, lions only get with lions. You don't see lions get with bears and stuff. So that's nature's balance of laws. If you understand how nature's laws work, then you understand how you can also use them. Mankind is the only creature that can defy nature's laws. That's why you've heard of some sickening acts of people doing bestiality, or you've heard of people falling victim to drugs and all kind of things. That's not naturally how we're supposed to be.
When you say defy, what you mean, King Brother?
Defy means that, again, going back to desire, our desire can outwit Mother Nature. So our nature is to be just like every other animal and reproduce. Our brain, there's another guy famous on the topic of Napoleon Hill called Bob Proctor, and he said everything that's in a human being can be found in every other animal except for the mind. He's like, the mind is not the brain. Everybody thinks the brain and the mind are the same thing. If pigs had a mind, then they would be able to get out of the way of all their predators. That come after them. But
in a more simplistic form, because we got a lot of viewers too that like they hear that laws of nature shit and it's gonna lose them.
Okay.
In clear cut, what's a drifter though? Outside of the laws of nature, what would you interpret as a drifter?
Okay, a drifter simply is somebody who neglects to use their own mind, and by doing that, you allow yourself to become influenced by everybody around you.
Everybody and everything.
Now that might sound simple enough or complicated enough at the base level, but when you think of a non-drifter, you think of somebody who society might have went against, might not like, because typically non-drifters are people who other people a lot of times call them crazy, but they move in their own way. And they're successful a lot of times. One of the key things it even says here: men who know how to get the material things from life generally know how to keep out of the hands of the devil, because the ability to acquire things is not something that drifters can do well.
Yeah, exactly.
it's very difficult to break it down super like 5th grade level.
Yeah.
But I promise if you just read it over and over, and then you even listen to conversations like this of people talking about it, you can find how everybody is drifting in ways that they don't even recognize. And even non-drifters, he says, drift. He's like, the difference is non-drifters can outwit the drifting before it affects them. He's like,
my bad to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Thinking about the 5th grader. It's a video that goes back to like Panther times.
Yeah.
Where a little boy was getting interviewed by his teacher, and his teacher was asking him what's his name. He was asking him what's his age.
Oh yeah, I remember I seen that. Yeah.
So one time he was asking him his age, and he was telling the little boy like, "How old are you?" And the little boy was telling him, he was like, "No, you're not this age. You're a different age." The teacher was telling him that, and then so the boy, he kind of got like a little confused, but at the same time he knew his age. So the teacher was like, "You know your age. Like, don't let me trick you out of that."
Exactly.
So I'm just saying that to say like that's one small like example of showing someone to think for themselves instead of taking the manipulations of somebody else that they may be wrong. And but just simply saying, piggybacking off of you, that a drifter is simply somebody who doesn't think for themselves. And just take everything that's handed to them. And just think about how that shows up in concepts of love. And how many people that are in love based off of what everybody else thought it should be,
or think it is,
give up on love because of what everybody else think it should be, rather than going through their own trials and tribulation, rather than thinking for themselves. And so if you think that you're not a victim of drifting, believe it shows up in our lives one way or another.
Especially
in this book gonna help us identify that.
And the way that drifting comes about, so what the devil talks about is drifting is his greatest habit towards driving people towards their destruction. Basically, not just drifting in itself, but the habit of drifting. So habit is created through something he calls hypnotic rhythm. Hypnotic rhythm is something that just controls our habits. Like, so when you think about it to the most basic level, when you get out of bed in the morning, you don't have to think about putting your feet on the floor. You do it naturally. You learn. I mean, when you're a little kid, you may not know how to walk. You crawl until you fall. Once you start falling enough, you can catch your balance. You don't have to get up and try to crawl before you stand. The habit is set in your mind to put one foot in front of the other. Basically, that's the base level of everything else. So everything that we do in life that we haven't succeeded at, or why he talks about the poor and impoverished, he was like, environment. He's like, look around environment. He's like, usually around the slums, you can find people with a certain personality type. He's like, certain people with a certain non-drifting personality type can't even exist in these environments.
Right. Poverty is the disease, basically.
It is. and a lot of that too because a lot of us are products of our environment. And our parents, grandparents, great-great-grandparents are drifters, cousins, siblings, you know what I'm saying? Close friends. Like he said, if our parents or anybody that's of higher influence or guardianship of us, they'll tell us to have faith when it comes to certain things, right? But when we see they get hit with a bill, now their drifterness is being tested by the enemy. And if we're sitting around watching mom or dad look at the bill, they frustrated, getting mad, where's their faith in those particular moments? You get what I'm saying? So when we see as children, it's difficult for us to see what faith is when we have parents that don't know that they're drifters, that are drifters. You get what I'm saying?
And the biggest tool that the devil says he uses to cause people to drift towards failure is fear. And fear in many different forms. So going back to what KenDon said about faith, something else I want to break down that I don't want our viewers to overcomplicate. There's a law of nature called the law of polarity. And to put it in its most simple form, everything has two opposite ends of its makeup. And to put that in a simple form, you have the North and the South Pole, right? You have hot and cold. You have light and dark.
Night and day.
Night and day. So when you think about that to the most simple concept, basically everything that you do has Newton? It has an equal opposite reaction.
Yes, it does. So what goes up must come down. All that.
It's interconnected.
Yes.
So when you relate that to drifting, what you were getting at, when situations like that arise, when you have a bill that comes and it's more than what's in your account, going back to what KenDon said, faith or fear. They're on polar opposite ends of the spectrum. You can have faith that the money for this will come out of somewhere.
You can have fear.
Or you can have fear and, I don't know, we might get a victory.
Now.
Simple as a choice. Of how our mood responds to that issue.
So if you remember that law of polarity when you're making choices and you think about, okay, because it's not like you're not going to feel fear in life. You're going to feel fear and you're going to feel discourage that time.
But what they got to understand too, that fear is a tool of a man-made devil.
Right.
That's inside the book.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's perception.
Exactly. So we're going to go on a quick break, and then we'll come back talking about fear as a tool of a man-made devil. Patio PolitiCz. Yeah.
Let's get it.
A culmination of powerful properties that create balance and produce good energy. Cultivating a culture of mindfulness is a daily battle. We target your inner me. Physiological effects, change you can truly feel. Aesthetically pleasing on the surface, but handmade to help you heal.
2.
You are now rocking with the Patio PolitiCz.
We back. Outwitting the Devil. Man, chopping up some knowledge and wisdom, man. Hope y'all done got y'all copies already. And if you haven't, you fucking tripping. Quit playing with yourself.
Amazon is just a couple clicks away, man.
Man.
Do your stuff.
Yes.
Go get it. Change your life.
And they got thrifty books. They have it for the low. You can also, if you cheap on a penny, which I know, a lot of motherfuckers be tight, you can get it at thriftybooks.com. They got it a couple dollars off for the used copy. Amazon too got the used copies off.
Like $8, I think.
Shit, some be $5. You might have a shit marked up and it might look beat up, but it's still a physical copy. I ain't gonna be on y'all about that, man. Because it's an investment to yourself. That's what you got. It's an investment to your knowledge, and you're breaking a generational curse, man. So if you catch yourself starting to read, don't overdo the shit. I always often teach people to read a chapter or 2 at most a day. So when you read that chapter, and it's great to read in the morning, so you can apply what you're practice applying what you have read throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And that's going to motivate you to go to the next chapter. And trust me, if you read a chapter or 2 a day, man, the shit is going to get greater and greater, and you're going to start to love that shit. It's going to be habit forming. And what we want to teach here is practicing great habits.
Man,
Habits and everything.
I'm speaking of habits, man. One great habit that I learned from my king brother is highlighting.
Yes.
When it comes to highlighting, because I'm somebody who I take the notes down or I take a picture, but the things that happen sometimes in highlighting is that what you put in the color coordination with some keywords or texts is something that your brain does to help with memorization.
Yes.
So after you read these chapters, run over the things that you highlighted, just run through them, and meditate on them, and it'll help and sink into your subconscious state of mind even better, so that these things can be carried with you.
Yes.
As you start drifting.
Yes. Now, one of the key things that we was talking about before break, fellas, was fear. And we was talking about it during the whole segment pretty much, and it's a very, very important thing. Fear, man, because like I said, it's a tool of the man-made devil. What does that mean to you guys? Outside of reading a book, what does that mean to y'all? Like, say if I said that to y'all before reading a book, that fear is a tool of a man-made devil. Man. What does that mean to y'all?
Basically, that it don't belong to me, and that everything that I took it as is it ain't real. Yeah. And that, like, on a personal level, that's what I take it as, that it ain't mine. Yes. And that if I'm thinking it, that I gotta find a way to get it up out of me, because it's not real, it's not natural.
Man, like food.
Yeah. And I learned that they say that it's only like 3 natural fears. Yes. Or something like that, like the fear of loud noise, the fear of falling. And I forgot the other one. Like, naturally our body responds to these things. Yeah. Like, meaning that these things show up as fear, but everything else is a perception. Man. Something that we internalized and created in our mind.
In our mind.
It's created. Because when you think about it, I mean, well, he pretty much summed it up. I was gonna say it's only as real as you allow it to be, and we've all been a victim of it. I know I have, because like you said, going back to those natural fears, if you think about it, people have fear of riding on airplanes, but I mean, before airplanes were invented, nobody had that fear.
Right. Yeah.
So it had to be created in order for people to have that fear. Right.
Yeah. And it be stuff that be underneath it. Be like, sometimes it don't necessarily be that. Like, we can have the fear of riding on a plane, but truthfully, the ultimate
it's the fear of falling.
It's the fear of death.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and then, when we think about that, it's so much insecurities in that.
Hell
you look at yourself to be in order for you to fear death.
Yeah.
And then also too, deep. Y'all remember, so he talks about the basic fears that humans have too. Yeah. There are other ones that they say outside of nature.
Okay, yeah.
He talks about the fear of ill health.
Yep.
The fear of old age. The fear of death. The fear of poverty. But he said ultimately the ones he uses most is poverty and death. He's like, death, particularly because he knows good and well that no human being, even the non-drifter, nobody for certain knows what happens right after you die. So he makes people think that he's standing right over you as soon as you take your last breath, waiting to bring you in the eternal
man-made
devil.
Right. Now, like you said, but that ties back to the Newton law. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Up, down, left, right, hot and cold, the fear of ill health.
Right.
This teaches us that if we think positive about our health, we're going to have great health. But if we think ill will towards our health, we're going to create bad health. And that creates the bullshit, man-made shit, cancer, ulcers, all type of things of that nature. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Because sometimes people don't understand why fear is so bad. Because fear, it starts off in the mind, but then it shows up in your body.
Yes, right, man.
Because it starts showing up as tension in your bodies, and now your organs is not getting certain things that it needs. Cortisol levels is being released to your body, so now the fluids ain't working like how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So you think fear is just only happening up here, but no. That's why you got high blood pressure. That's why everything else is showing up in your life, anxiety, all other things, because the fear.
Yeah, and my like before reading this, I didn't think of fear as being a man-made devil until I read it, and I'm like, damn, that does make sense. Why is everybody afraid of going to hell? Because of our perception of hell. Well, we're taught religiously about hell, seeing movies how the devil look. We don't even be afraid of what's supposed to happen in hell. We're afraid of the imagery of hell. Right. You get what I'm saying?
What we were taught.
And actually what's in the Bible, people have only like amplified their own version of it, because in the Bible it don't talk about like, it make you think you in the earth's core where the mantle is, and it's just hot lava everywhere.
It's hot lava, and it's a man with a pitchfoot, with horns,
and you just burning.
A big man with pitchforks in the tail, ready.
And I'm not taking away from because I mean I'm still grounded in my faith, and I still definitely believe God is real, and a little different than Napoleon does.
Indeed.
But at the same time, everything here still applies, and I start asking myself too the same thing. I'm like, why am I afraid of that?
Yeah.
I don't need to be afraid of that, because it already says with the way that habits and human beings are, if we can neglect to use our minds, then that's why, because he makes reference to Jesus too.
Yeah,
he says for Jesus was a representation for us, and that's what people miss.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
And then not even to get too far off when you talk about
me.
Fear. Yeah, when you're talking about fear. I know the nature laws might be a little rough for people, but it's important y'all get this. The particular one of hypnotic rhythm. I wanted to ask, what was y'all's take on that when y'all first read about that? Because that to me was the first thing that started making me really take inventory of myself. Because when he talks about not just drifting, the habit of drifting, the devil's whole goal is to affect your habits.
Yeah.
So, and things you don't even think about. It's like you don't have to think about if you're right-handed, you pick up a pen with a right.
Yeah, because habits turn into like habits and addiction kind of go hand in hand, and people don't understand that.
Yes.
Because addiction is nothing but habits.
Yeah, it takes 21 days to form a habit,
right,
or an addiction,
right.
You get what I'm saying?
And the stronger that's been, it takes more time to undo it.
To undo it,
because you got to undo it, and you have to apply definiteness of purpose in another direction.
Exactly.
In order to get out of it.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
And but just to go back to the hypnotic rhythm, that's what I'm saying. When people get this, your intentions on getting it has to be of change, of positivity, not to just say I read the shit and not apply nothing.
Right.
Then you're gonna miss the whole You just spent $20 for nothing.
Yeah,
that was me when I first got the book.
Oh yeah.
10 years ago.
Nah, and that's what I'm saying. When people get it on that first initial, they don't have to keep reading it over and over and over and over again, because depending on what your intentions is going into the book, make your highlights and your key points, and you're gonna get it. But break down, just generalize what hypnotic rhythm is for the people, and then me and Kay will answer your question after we read it.
Okay, so if I can break it down in a simple way for people to understand, there's just power. Okay, a lot of people think there's good and there's bad power, but it's like, no, there's power, and good or evil takes control of it.
Exactly.
Hypnotic rhythm is the power of how things just keep moving. Like I said, the Earth's in orbit, it's going around the sun constantly.
Yeah.
It's in that hypnotic rhythm. When it's winter, it's not fall. When it's fall, it's not summer. The seasons come and go.
Yeah.
They don't switch up every year, and sometimes summer comes in December, and sometimes, it's always the way it is.
Yeah.
That's nature's hypnotic rhythm. Your mind moves in hypnotic rhythm. The more you start thinking about something, you think about it more and more and more and more. That's your mind's rhythm. So the devil is like, if you don't take control of desire, which is what God gave you, to set your mind positive, then I already gonna apply what's negative. So it's like, basically, when he says there's no vacuum, meaning there's no such thing as an empty space.
Exactly.
Any empty space you leave, the devil is coming for it.
Yep.
And so what hypnotic rhythm does is hypnotic rhythm, you can think in the sense of he compares it to music.
Yes.
He's like, first when you hear music, you just hear a song and it just sounds generally good.
Man.
You listen to it a couple more times, now you can hear every different different instrument. Then when you start listening to the lyrics, you start memorizing the lyrics. Now you can memorize the lyrics in different inflections.
Yep.
You can move around the house when you're doing it.
It starts to alter your mood.
It starts to set in on you.
Yeah, it starts to alter your mood spiritually.
So habits and everything that we do set in that way. So his whole goal is setting in destructive habits to you in that way. He talks about the fears.
Mm-hmm.
If you fear ill health, you go through your life fearing catching cancer one day or fearing something happening to you. If you fear death, and those fears cause you to not do things that can be successful because you're afraid of taking risks.
Yeah.
If you move in fear and faith can't exist in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
Again, polarity. You gotta pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Attempting to keep it as simple as I can.
That's cool, because I was gonna say my first interpretation of it was it made me really look at myself, with the hypnotic rhythm, and just how in reading that shit, I'm like, damn, man, I used to think the heart was the most powerful organ in the body, but the mind is. Because what I often tell people, like, I was like, okay, think about it like this. I say a person can have a heart attack, but they still can keep their brain. Their brain will still be functioning. That's why they take the brain. I said, but what happens when the brain is dead? The whole body go.
You're a vegetable.
Yeah, you can have a healthy ass body, all working out, whatever. That brain is dead, you done. You're a vegetable. Like, cancel. Pull the plug. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So just in terms of just relating back to the book, like, our mind is the most powerful thing ever. You can literally move mountains with your fucking mind.
Facts.
But because we're taught to be drifters, subconsciously, we don't believe that that's possible.
Right.
We believe it's a folklore, and it's like, you really can do that shit. You really, like when they say, the mind is a terrible thing to waste, that shit is real life.
Facts.
That shit is real life. So that was my interpretation of it, just the hypnotic rhythm. Like, damn, I'm like, I gotta start fixing a rhythmic pattern of my hypnotic shit in my mind, in my flow every day. It's an everyday thing. If you wake up and like you said, T, when we wake up with these different things, man, just fear, the fear of going to work, the fear of getting in the car, waking up with negative thoughts, man, I got to go to this job that you don't want to be at, or whatever the case may be. Instead of just having not fear, but that courage to, if you don't like the job, stop working there.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And I know it ain't that easy, you guys.
Or have faith.
Have faith. And that's why we're saying it's not really that, it's not easy, but it's not as hard as everybody make it. So it's like, it's a medium to it. It's a medium. And just like T said, it's that power force. It's in the middle. So it's not like negative power or positive, but it's what you're giving into that power. So what you give into that power is going to reciprocate and give back to you. That's what I felt with that.
And you know what? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, nah. Yep, just finding the medium with my brothers, man, when it comes to hypnotic rhythm, because they definitely hit on the nose. For me, I'm gonna say it showed up as learning to learn, and just simply like just noting that the rhythms that I did adopt, rather than things that I done that my family has done, things that the way that I speak, based off of the environment that I come from, and now like days in my life, like I'm willing to undo that just simply by taking in new information, by like reading books like Outwitting the Devil. It's like my ways of breaking hypnotic rhythm, and it's just one concept that I used to have. My king brother said, if you don't make up your bed, if you ain't made up your bed, have you made up your mind? And just looking at it as simple as us being in the habit of not cleaning up our rooms and whatnot, and exactly how that shows up parallel in our mind is that once the room gets dirty, what happens is that over time it's an accumulation of things that we continuously put to the side, or things that we have left there. But just noticing that how many things that we have put to the side in our mind, or how many things that we have left behind in our spirit. And this direct parallel is showing up in our environments as hypnotic rhythm. We in the hypnotic rhythm and don't even realize that we lost in the trance, because we just lost in it. We falling in quicksand and don't even realize it.
Now let me read to y'all real quick before you, because I know you're about to move on to a point, just to give y'all more of a book definition. So he says, hypnotic rhythm has everything to do with the manner in which people relate themselves to one another. Every human being has the opportunity and privilege of relating himself to all other human beings, no matter how many mistakes he makes, how many times, or in what way. And then the key to that also is that, okay, where was that place I was looking at? Oh, man. Basically, okay, so what he says is that when you experience failure or bad things happen in life, he's like, understand, that just means that there was somewhere along the line that you weren't in harmony with nature. He's like, so your goal in life should be to be in harmony with nature. And to break that down so everybody can understand is that when you're in harmony with nature, that's when you are experiencing the highest high of everything. Yeah. Riches. Yeah. Love. Of course, material riches and money. Yeah. Wealth, everything. So he's like, ultimately, when you experience failure, he's like, that's not nature telling you that you're bad or anything. It's just nature telling you, okay, there's something along the line you didn't do. It's like they use the example of Edison and the light bulbs. Everybody else would say, okay, well, he made a bunch of failed attempts, at creating a light bulb. He's like, no, I was on track. He was like, there was only one little thing I had to alter. So it wasn't that I just found a bunch of ways not to make a light bulb. Yeah. And now, just getting back to what you said as well about how it made you look at yourself, I started looking at myself in different things, and I'm like, okay, in different situations, when I wanted to go at this person, where was I out of alignment with? Before I take the fight to them, before I, go and start some shit. Yeah. And then it's like, literally, it's like, look, if something was wrong, it just means you weren't in harmony somewhere. It's like when things are in harmony, it's like the earth is in harmony with the sun. That's why it goes around as many days. You'll never have a year when the earth goes around the sun in 200 days. Yeah. Yeah. And that's because the earth is naturally in hypnotic rhythm. Human beings are the only ones who can use it and break it. Yeah. Damn. And see, a lot of people don't understand that. That's why it's good that we doing this, because I wish like there were panels or radio shit, and it probably was radio shit, but if we too young, I'm listening to Hot 106 and all that, yeah. But see, like we didn't have access to Earl Nightingale. People that had records and 8-tracks and all that may have had it, but how many black homes you think had Earl Nightingale? Man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know he was a LA native too. Nah, I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know that. He grew up here. What do y'all think? Before I get, and I'm gonna use what I'm gonna read from here on the next on the final segment. But what do y'all think is gonna take to get this type of teaching in schools or into the modern day curriculum of education?
Man, one thing I'm gonna say, man, is to the parents, because there is school before school, and that's at home. Come on, man. And I can say that once we let parents understand that they truly have the keys in their own lives, I believe that they can hand those keys over to the seeds that they produce, rather than letting somebody else hand them over. Yeah, there it is. There it is. What about you, T?
Honestly, I'm in the schools, man, and I just. I don't see a way of it happening with the current system. Yeah. There just has to be another system created where you have people slowly buying into it. It's one of those things that you might even have to see it happen in other nations for people to buy in. Wow. Because he talks a lot about how he hates America, but also too how a lot of American drifters are because of their own pompous patriotism. We think we know everything because we the world's power, but we could learn a lot from other countries. And I think this is something that, especially in countries like maybe the Asian countries where you find a lot more monks and monasteries and people who meditate on not just the laws of nature, but a lot of, stoicism and similar information. You're going to have to see it, and you're going to have to see where others are excelling and we're just falling behind to where people are like, okay, what are they doing? Yeah. Because other than that, I mean, our society kind of likes itself the way it is. People here like drifting.
Well, we're a
product of that habit.
Exactly, that habit, and I believe it's something possible, but we can't change what we don't know. So they keep that knowledge away from us to keep us on the habit of drifting. Right. drifting habits and all that, and to keep us on their curriculum, capitalism, communism, all this extra shit. I feel it's possible, but it's kind of like one of them things. There's laws we don't know. You don't have to give a cop your name. You don't have to give him your ID. You don't have to grant him them rights and privileges to search your car.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? But we don't have knowledge to that. So guess what? A lot of people getting their cars illegally searched, their houses illegally searched because of the fear of law that they lack of knowledge that they don't know.
Facts.
So I feel there are ways to put things in place educational wise. Will it be easy? No, because of course they're going to take us through the runarounds once we start asking questions and poking the bear. But I believe there is ways we can change it, because it's like, fuck that Christopher Columbus bullshit. These are the books we need. But I know their curriculum is taught like that. Jim Crow, the Willie Lynch shit is because to keep us on track to be sheep. You get what I'm saying?
Facts.
Sheep ain't never attacked the herder. You get what I'm saying? Or the lion, because of fear of that one tiger or that one bear, that one wolf is gonna kill a sheep of 1,000 sheep.
Right.
Nah, y'all can trample the motherfucker, but if you don't have no knowledge to how to defend yourself and do that, then you just gonna continue to go wherever the sheep herder, turn his stick and go. You feel what I'm saying?
And speaking of how we a product of our environment.
Yes.
And that's really one of the things. Like all the sheep, they doing the same thing. So that sheep, it ain't gonna step outside and not do what its brothers and sisters do. Like I'm gonna continue to do the same thing. But sometimes it just takes that one.
And
he references God and Jesus multiple times. And what do we always reference to but being sheep? And maybe the reason why human beings are referenced as sheep is because so many of us are drifters.
Exactly. Hold that dough, man. We'll be back. Keep it locked. We'll be back in a tick on the Patio PolitiCz. Yes, sir.
That's that mastermind, you know.
Yeah.
They don't know.
You are now rocking with the Patio PolitiCz.
We back.
Yeah.
We back. You go ahead and
Oh yeah.
So before we went on break, I have found some. I put my little bookmark on it because I want to highlight a lot of things, because I know people was like, all right, I'm gonna get the book, I'm gonna check it out. What if I'm impatient? I can't wait till the book come. What are some of the things that I can look for as far as the devil, the op, fucking with me? What are things he attack and go for? And one of the key things, you guys, that he go after is your desires, and he uses bribes to conquer those desires. Suggestive thoughts, manipulation, all those things to penetrate your desires. And some of the things, just I'm gonna name a few, and then we can touch on these through this whole segment. Love, the thirst for sexual expression or sex expression, money, obsessive desire to gain something for nothing, gambling, vanity in women, egotism, and vanity in women, Instagram, y'all know it's polluting the fuck out of people. TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, all that.
OnlyFans.
That too. Only for hell yeah. Does the desire to be the master of others, the desire for intoxication or narcotics. This is in the 1930s, 1939 to be exact.
For
people.
today.
Desire to intimidate others. You get what I'm saying? The desire to be the hero or the heroine. Desire for physical food. And the list goes on. That's just a few, but just with those few that we name, people, ask yourself how many of those desires have the devil bribed me in, whether it's food, vanity, to conquer others, which is manipulation. Like, I want people to think about that, because those are a lot of things. Sex, the desire for love, the thirst for that shit. You know what I'm saying? He conquers all that. And if you look at how media and propaganda is set up, look, I'm going to show you how real the devil is, how relevant he is. All those desires I named, is in media and propaganda.
Yes.
Now go ahead, Rod, please.
And the problem is not that it's there, but the fact that we're able to be ambushed by these things and it's able to, trespass against us.
Yes.
So the problem is us that we're looking at. We're not looking at the exterior problems, but the interior things that's going on within us that's allowing these problems to take place.
Yes. And then when I think about it too, man, just even before IG, y'all, the IG and shit, social media just made it worse for women, because before all this shit, a lot of women still, and not all y'all, that are securing yourselves.
Facts.
I'm talking about the insecure women, which is a lot of y'all too. That thirst for vanity has always been there, and then we look at what was the birth of that, what was the upbringing of that, and we go to the upbringing, which was the root of the problem. Not being told you were beautiful by moms or dad and grandpa, and not feeling adequate enough in your beauty and yourself, and feeling too hairy, feeling too short, feeling your breast too small, your butt too flat, you don't have the body that other people desire, your hair isn't too long. We look at all that stuff. Then when you got something like IG, which feeds the vanity, feeds your desires, feeds your thirst for it, quenches your thirst for it, look at how it's fucked up our women of today and our sisters. Right. Like, vanity is like at an all-time high when it comes to that shit.
Can I edify your point real quick?
Go ahead.
Not cutting you off, but edifying your point.
Yeah.
I'll read a passage to you directly from the devil himself.
Yeah.
I have taught women and young girls to go into the saloon, the front door, and sit at the bar where they drink and show off their physical charms for their best advantage. Take a walk down Broadway during some cocktail hour and see what I have done to add women customers to my list.
Come on.
That's
physical IG.
Day parties.
That's physical IG.
Fans. He was like, vanity is my number one tool with women.
See?
Tell any woman that she looks pretty or that she wears clothes well. It ain't even clothes now. It's beyond that.
And understanding what's taking place when that's happening, it's the ego being brought out.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. I'm grabbing that ego and I'm putting it to the forefront. And then now people start identifying with their ego. Yeah. And even breaking that down to a simpler form than that. Identifying with the flesh. Man. Identifying with the visual, the vehicle that's housing the soul.
Man. Stroking their insecurities too. You know what I'm saying? Man. Stroking that shit is like, it's really potent. And I believe that's what make this book relevant and scary in a sense. Because like I said, you talking about in 1939, we don't know what the fuck that looked like back then. We can't even imagine it. It'd be difficult to imagine, especially with everything we got. You talking about, y'all, it was barely landlines, okay? Wasn't no Uber Eats, wasn't no cabs. They barely had public transportation in the 1930s. You get what I'm saying? So you really had to politic with your loved one. You really have to call somebody on the phone, you know what I'm saying, and really talk to them. You really have to pull up on somebody or walk to the house and really have an engaging relationship. Not no DMs, not no none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So the times were a lot different than it was. And then when we say 1939, y'all just think of where we were just as black people, just with racism. It was fucked up in the 60s. And it's like the further we go back in time, it got more fucked up. It was more worse and worse and worse. So just imagine the desires that was tampered with us. You get what I'm saying? And our vanity, or not our vanity, but just us being accepted in society at that time.
Yeah. Man. And you know what? To add to what you first led with too, the key thing for people to understand is that we have fear of a lot of those things the devil bribes us with, and that's the incorrect mindset to actually approach it with. Yeah. Because even biblically, or I'm sure even in other religions, everything that the devil bribes you with is not inherently in itself bad, because there's scientific proof behind the desire for sex expression is as inherent as the desire for food and water. Yeah. All the things that he bribes us with are things that we need. A lot of times what he takes is what God has and distorts it. So if you look in the Bible, everything that the devil uses against us is really just an extreme form or an overindulging form of a need. Not just a need, but something that God gave us naturally. So you think about, he gets back to the fear-mongering Christians. He says that the churches says here, the churches are actually my best friends.
Yeah, hell
He said
yeah.
the churches actually help my cause, because he was like, if you want to draw more attention to a cause, attack it.
Yeah, but if you look at it, where do the most insecure and broken people go?
To the church. But also, who attacks the devil the most?
Yeah.
And he's like, notice, he's like, what is fear of the devil but propaganda?
Yep.
He's like, ultimately, propaganda is something that you can't prove, that you're just ultimately influenced by others who are saying something.
Yep, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and then because all those things that you mentioned, it's important. You know, when y'all get the book, you'll understand. But like vanity, overindulgence in sex, because he's like, sex is actually something that's required for your success.
Yeah,
it's got to be disciplined.
Yeah, discipline.
You know, vanity is not a problem. I mean,
it's like eating.
Yeah.
Like eating. Yeah, moderation.
Right.
Yeah.
When you, I mean, vanity to an extent when you have self-awareness, not when you're, you know, when you got to show everything just for people to recognize you. You know, it's like ultimately like, if you clean up nice and you dress well, people will naturally respect you.
Come on, man.
Just I'm going.
Nah.
It's exciting.
Just piggybacking off of y'all. The key thing is 3 appetites to master when desiring self-control. Which is the desire for food.
Yes.
Number 2 is the desire for the expression of sex.
Yeah.
And number 3, the desire for expressly loose, organized opinions. Now, just simply speaking on myself, I can contest to that. I come from a family where, you know, everybody eat a certain way, you know, but I chose at the age of 23 to go vegan in my life. And one of the reasons is to understand the clarity of mind that came with eating a certain way based off of a fast that I did.
Yeah.
And but understanding how the desire for food plays against us.
Man.
Because as above, so below. Understand that our digestive system, our body, the things that we put inside of our body becomes us. That we sluggish up top because of that, you know, and that when people are hungry, the type of ways that they respond to food, that's in itself is a way that the enemy is able to use us.
Yes. And how even they mood shift, not to cut you off.
Yeah,
I seen a lot of motherfuckers' moods be shifty, man.
Yeah.
When they ain't ate, and it's like, wow.
When them desires ain't met, and not only saying, you know, there's temptation where there's desire.
Man,
you know, and that's the only place. So once you get these desires in check, once these temptations show up in your life, you're able to move past them and get through them with more ease and grace.
Man.
And then, of course, the desire and expression of sex is that when we do it so loosely and we spread it out, you know, so much and don't keep it sacred as it's meant to be, that also becomes used against us because they can come through to the partner.
Yeah.
Because our partner is in direct relation because this becomes our environment.
Yes.
You know, so that's one way that sex is used against us. And the last one is a desire to express loosely organized opinion. And how that can be tricky because that shows up as egotistical expression.
Yes.
And meaning that, you know, a lot of times we saying things because we want our ego to be shown up. You know, we want to appear as something holier or something mightier than, as opposed to like, we all in this together, we all learning this together. Like nobody's mental space is higher than the other. You know, in fact, that we are just simply parts of the whole.
Come on.
You know, but that the egotistical expression makes us feel that we are more than a whole. Yeah. And takes us away from the Most High and puts us in the hand of the enemy because then we are separated.
Wow.
So, I know I'm the one who keeps going back to nature's laws, but I really, really want them to get this, man. Here's another reason why y'all need to understand nature's laws. So you know how everybody familiar with that phrase, like, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah.
And you know, we wonder, like, man, I'm a good person. Like, I ain't trying to rob or steal from nobody. I'm just trying to feed my family. Why are things going horrible for me? One of the things the devil admits to, and this is what the churches a lot of times fail us in religions, is like, nature is not interested in morals as such, who's a good person and right and wrong. She's interested in justice. She's forcing everything to express according to its nature, not whether you think you're good or not. That's why you can have people who sin in private, but they think they're better than people who sin is public.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about why do bad things happen to good people drift.
Yeah.
Good people neglect to use their minds. So you might be nice to people and you might speak nicely and help people and whatnot, but you neglect to use your mind for other things that should draw you to a better life. And then there's a ton of evil people, because he talks about one of his greatest drifters that believed he was a non-drifter was Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Because he said when he got to the highest point of almost controlling the world, that he was using Hitler, Mussolini, and all these guys. And he was like, all I did was bribe them.
Yeah.
You know,
Use their power against
use their power against them. So and he's like, the number one way it says in the 48 laws of power, the way to have a power over somebody else is to let them think they have power over you.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's important because it says like there can, it says in the Bible, idle hands, the devil's playground.
Yep.
There can be no idleness in the brain. It says here. So another way of understanding the Bible, meaning like if you're sitting around and you don't have nothing to think about, you notice all of a sudden thoughts start coming into your head of shit that you shouldn't even be thinking about. And so that's why he says non-drifters are always engaged in something definite.
Yeah.
You won't catch them. I hate for the weed smokers out there, but people who just sit around just like, man, I'm just high, and it's like you think that you're experiencing shit, but you're not actually directing your mind towards a definite aim. And if you did, you would be conscious of health, and you wouldn't want to put anything in your body to alter your mind, because that's what he says too. Mind altering substances.
Come on, man.
I'm like, it's
just
a lot, man.
Fuck that. That is to the weed smokers. That's just real. You get what I'm saying? It is to the weed smokers.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? So before we close, let's let them know, because we're gonna eventually do a part 2 to this for sure. But let everybody know just why they should get this book, why it'd be advantageous to their life to get it, and important, why it's imperative to have this book.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I would say the number one reason to get this book is that, in the most simple terms, it will change your life for the better, because a lot of the questions that you have about, why things happen in life, why your life is the way it is, why it is or it isn't moving the way you want it to move, and then also where to start in terms of you wanting to improve it or change it.
Yeah.
With things in areas that you didn't even imagine were affecting you, powers and forces that you didn't even know were affecting you. It's imperative. It's something that you just gotta know, and also it's something that you gotta pass on to somebody else. I've bought multiple copies of this and given it to my students at school, and this book was banned. Yeah. But I'm like, I could care less, because it's like, this is something that they need to have.
Yeah. And what about you, Kay?
Man, I'm gonna say definitely for someone who is driven by purpose, and who feels that their purpose is something that they living by, because this right here, it helps keeps you in check, and help self-assess yourself to understand how the enemy can be using you against yourself.
Yes.
And that's one of the greatest things that we don't like to realize, is that we are our own biggest enemy.
Yes.
And I feel like this right here helps you have power over your enemy, because in order to beat your enemy, you have to know thy enemy.
Man.
And this right here helps help you understand yourself a whole lot better with this book right here. So definitely one of the ones that you should add to your arsenal. Definitely.
Damn. Y'all said it. I'll just say mine in short. Like my rider said, you got to know your enemy. We always often call the devil the enemy, or relate to him as the enemy. Napoleon, the great dictator, the great leader, once said, if you fight the same enemy a countless amount of times, and I'm paraphrasing to you guys, I don't want to misquote him, but the more you fight this one particular enemy, you're going to grow to know his moves. So eventually you're going to learn how to defeat him, because you keep fighting him over and over again, and he's going to keep presenting you the same moves. The devil moves never change. And this conversation tells you how to defeat him. You get what I'm saying? So if you really want to defeat the devil, and break them bad habits that have formed a generational curse in your family for years, you get what I'm saying? And wonder why you're inheriting these diseases of illnesses, inheriting these bad habits and these bad traits that you didn't ask for at birth. Man, get this book, and it'll help shift and change your life for the greater. You're talking like this is 3 out of probably a handful of people whose lives it has shifted and changed. That's telling you this shit is a truth, it's factual, and it's real, and it's a life and game changer and a generational curse breaker. Now, I'm gonna warn you though to proceed with caution, because once you start diving in, shit is gonna start coming left from right. But if you practicing what you need to do to form these new habits, you're gonna be A-okay. You're gonna be straight as a motherfucker, man. You're gonna be great.
Man.
Patio PolitiCz, Outwitting the Devil, man. Show yours again, T. That's the original copy. Mine is, it's good. It's a good copy. It's good. It's good. Motherfucker, it cost me $25. Mine was just noted by other authors or whatnot. And this book also directed me to 3 Feet from Gold as well too. So Outwitting the Devil, 3 Feet from Gold. I would say before you get Think and Grow Rich, to get Outwitting first, and then go get the other books after. And then, man, watch your life change in miraculous ways.
Watch it.
Mill Suave, Trouble T Mills, no trouble, all knowledge today. KenDon, the Don, and this motherfucker, man, dropping jewels of knowledge and wisdom. And it's your man, J Fifth. Patio PolitiCz, man. Y'all keep it locked. Get that fucking book. And we out like this. It's a Patio PolitiCz.
Yeah.
We don't do trends, we trendsetters.